Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May Brahman protect us. May it nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating. May we not cherish ill feeling towards each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Good morning and welcome to today's Sunday service online only. And in the Sunday lecture today, the topic chosen is the resurrection. Today is Easter Sunday. I extend Happy Easter to you all. Today is the day when Christian world rejoices for Jesus came back to life. He resurrected after being dead on the cross 3 days ago. We know in the life of Jesus that how he was tormented, tortured, whipped, 39 whips, and he was bleeding all over the body. He was forced to carry his own cross over the hill and went to the place where he was to be put in the cross that he had to carry. Tired, weak, he fell down many times on the way, and then he was crossed. He was hanged on the cross with 7-inch long nails put on 2 arms and the feet, bleeding. And on that condition, how was Jesus doing? He said once, "Father, have you forsaken me?" That was only once. Then he said, "The work is accomplished." He was reciting from the scripture, and he said, the high words of forgiveness, said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." That was the highest word. And after a few hours, the body of the Jesus was taken down from the cross. And then it was put in the cave. That was gifted to Jesus by a rich person. And in that cave, it was there. And on third day, as he had already prophesied, Jesus had said, "I will rise on the third day of my death." He was prophesied that long before. And third day, when Mary Magdalene, along with few other women, come to see the body, they saw that the stone that covered the tomb was put aside. And they went inside, there was no body of Jesus. Then they found that 2 bright men were there, the angels, and they said, "Jesus has resurrected. Where are you searching among dead? He is alive, he is not dead, and he will be with his disciples and friends." Jesus, after being resurrected on Sunday, Friday he was crucified, on Sunday, the third day, he resurrected, he came back to life, he rose from death. And then he went to his disciples, to all 11 disciples in Galilee, and said, "I am not dead, I am alive." Who can kill the incarnation of God? The real person is always immortal. That is the message Jesus gave by his own experience. That is the resurrection. Resurrection is coming back to existence. What seemed to be have gone beyond existence, coming back to life, what seemed to be as dead. That is resurrection. And in Christian term, it is the coming back to life of Jesus on third day after he was crucified, 3 days before. So this is the resurrection of Christ, Christ coming back, Christ never dying, and that is such a great impact on Christian religions, the day of joy. This is the Easter Sunday. Friday is the day of mourning, we call Good Friday, that is to mean Holy Friday, when Jesus took upon himself the sin of whole mankind. And he suffered so much for all mankind to show them the way that you should not sin, you should do the right things, you should be able to have self-control and be pure in life so others don't have to suffer for you, that God doesn't have to suffer for you. And when you commit wrongs, you have to suffer. If you are saved from suffering, someone else has to suffer. We find in the life of Holy Mother that one devotee of Holy Mother was asked to go and bring some groceries from another village, little far away. And the grocery was heavy. People said, hire a porter. He said, no, I can carry myself. So that devotee started carrying the load on his head and started walking. But later he realized it was very heavy. It was so heavy he is not able to carry anymore. He started having pain on his neck and body. And finally he cried to Mother, Mother, it is very heavy. It is very painful for me. He was very far from Mother, like few kilometers away. So suddenly he found after his prayer to Mother from his heart, the load seemed to be light. He was able to walk very comfortably, as if someone has taken the load of his groceries. And here in Jairambati, Holy Mother started walking with her hands, 2 hands raised, as if she is carrying an invisible load, and perspiring and walking here and there. This devotee's load was taken by Holy Mother. As Sri Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam, I take all your load and I supply all you need and I protect what you have to be, your things have to be protected. That is my promise to you, Sri Krishna says in the Gita. God is that who cares for us, who is ready to carry our burden and carry our suffering and sin and suffer from that. Jesus did exactly that. He suffered for mankind. So this is the message, that don't commit sin, that your Lord, your God, your heart being, your most beloved has to suffer. When we commit in life any mistake, any wrong, it is not only God suffers, it is not only we suffer, our dear ones suffer. In our family, if a family member does something mistake, whole family gets into trouble. Commit no sin. Do not do anything on the guidance of your impure mind. Try to make your mind pure. Be self-control. Control your mind, control your senses. Be always alert and be guided by your pure intellect. Do the right things in the world. Let no one suffer because of you, so that you are happy, the whole world rejoices with you. That is the message of Jesus' crucifixion. Now, after Jesus was resurrected, he went to his devotees. They were surprised. He dead on the cross. How he is there? He said, you are not believing me? Touch me. You can touch me. I am there. I am real. I am alive. The dead body has risen. That's what it happens for the great persons. We can't know, we don't know. But there is no death for all these great spiritual giants who come to the world to show us the light. Not only he lived in life for about 40 days after his resurrection, but he lives ever after that. He lives in the heart of everyone. Jesus is as alive today for the devotees as he was alive 2000 years ago. That is the greatness and power of the spiritual persons whom we call incarnations of God. Didn't Jesus himself, I and my Father are one. The devotee and God are one. The Jesus is no one but God incarnate, who himself called, I am the Son of God. That's what the story of resurrection is, how coming to life. Now this Christ's message was very clear, that real person is immortal, as we say, lead us from death to immortality. Death is a wrong idea about ourselves, the ignorance about our true nature. If we have that ignorance, we die. When we know who we are, then we become immortal. We do not die. That's what Jesus said, and tried to show from his own life that you all are immortal. Just be devoted to God. Follow me, follow my teachings, love everyone, and you are not going to die. Your body will die, but you will not die. It is said in the Bible that as a seed is put in the soil, that seed disintegrates, it dies. But what comes out of it is a new plant. As Sri Krishna said in the Gita, that Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naro parani. As a worn out garment is thrown away, like that your body is shed when it is useless, when it has done its work, when it is performed its function for which it is born, prarabdha finished, your duty for which you had come, your purpose for which you had come in life is done. Now shed this body and get a new body, like taking out a old, worn out cloth and donning a new cloth. This cloth is the body. Body will become old, will wear out, and it will be cast aside, and new body will be worn. Who wears that new body? It is we, the true self, the real person. That person is immortal. It doesn't die. It always is born again. It reincarnates. In case of Jesus, it is resurrection. In case of all of us, it is reincarnation, coming back to life again. In fact, death is not there at all. Death is only of the body, coming back to life again in a new form. That is reincarnation, and here it is resurrection. That is so important in the Christian faith about resurrection of Christ, that God doesn't die. We find that in life of Sri Ramakrishna, that he was in Dakshineshwar, and Vijaya Krishna Goswami saw Sri Ramakrishna in Dhaka, in that time East Bengal, now Bangladesh, capital Dhaka. And he said, I saw you, and I touched you, and I found I could touch you. Like that thing happens to this spiritual person. Seemingly, for us, it is unusual and impossible. But in the spiritual realm, these all are possible things. It is possible that a dead can come to life. Jesus himself showed in his life, when Lazarus was dead, he just said to Lazarus, Lazarus, come forth. And Lazarus stood up, he rose from death and came to Jesus. That is there. This life and death, what we call death, is very insignificant thing in our process of our real existence. This comes and goes. This death, they say, is like a bend on a road. It is not the end of the road. Road seems to have finished there. But there is a bend. New life begins. New road starts. New walking comes. That is what the death is. In the present time, when we are so much afraid of this death because of pandemic, this is the time to remember that there is resurrection. There is reincarnation. The death is just ignorance. That's why to feel that no, we are strong. I don't die. I am not the body. I refuse to accept my identity only with the body. I am the self. I am the Atman. I am the immortal, pure consciousness that I am. This body is just a misnomer of myself. It might be my instrument for the time being, but it cannot be my identity. That is the time to think like that, to think of the truth and be strong in mind, and by that strength and by that cheerfulness we can conquer the fear of death during this difficult time of pandemic. Who was Christ? The Gospel according to St. John gives us some indication of his role as an avatar. It begins, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten Son of the Father, full of grace and truth. That is how Jesus is described. His life, we all know that when Jesus was lost from his parents were searching here and there after walking one day and found the boy Jesus was not there with them. And then after searching, when they didn't find, they traced back, and for next they came back to Jerusalem in the temple, and he found Jesus there. And he said, "Son," mother said, "Son, where were you? We had been so much trouble and searching you here and there and came back all the way and you are here?" Then son says, Jesus said, "Mother, why were you searching me here and there? Couldn't you think that I was in the house of my father?" That was his identity as a boy. He never forgot that he was the Son of God. He was the Word, the God become flesh and blood. I and my Father are one. He proclaimed much later, but he was aware of his divinity from his very boyhood, from his very young age. That was Jesus. After that, in Jesus' life, about 12 years are not known what he did, but it is known that he went for the prayer in the deserts. He led a very austere life of rigorous spiritual disciplines, rigorous spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, and fully detached from this worldly life and fully immersed in the life of God. That was Jesus' life of sadhana. When God incarnates, they have to do sadhana. We find in Sri Ramakrishna's life how much he had to do sadhana to be with God. The God-born he is, but still he had to do so much of sadhana. When God assumes a human body, he has to follow the rules of the human body. All the great incarnations, we know in Buddha, how much he had to practice sadhana. Buddha is an incarnation of God. Hindus consider him as the ninth of the 10 incarnations of God. And so much sadhana he had to undergo. So sadhana, spiritual discipline is a must. Even such high spiritual souls who are pure from birth, they also have to undergo sadhana. Then what to say about us, who are born with our samskaras and weaknesses? We have to purify ourselves and have to go great spiritual disciplines. Then only we can reach that state when we can deny our identity with the body, and we can reaffirm and reassert our identity with our immortal self, with the Atman that is not changed by changing world, that is not caught disease by the disease around, that is free from all blemish, free from death, free from all ignorance. That soul that I am, that we have to understand. Bhagavad Gita also Sri Krishna says, I am the birthless, the deathless, Lord of all that breathes. I seem to be born, but it is only seeming, only my Maya. I am still master of my Prakriti, the power that makes me. That's what Sri Krishna said. That was Jesus. He seemed to live like a human being. He seemed to suffer like a human being, but he spoke like a son of God. He spoke like God himself when he could forgive all those who tormented him, who nailed him, who killed him. He could forgive everyone. How much that love, consolidated, concentrated love was Jesus Christ that all shows in his life, and that manifested through his resurrection. His love for, he could have ascended to heaven without being resurrected and come back to his disciples. Why did Jesus have to come back to his disciples and to his mother and to Mary Magdalene and to all the people to say that I am still alive? His love for mankind. When God sees that human beings need the guidance, the presence, the feeling that there is God. When God is the reality, then God incarnates. As Sri Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Then God incarnates to protect the good, to destroy the evil, to destroy the weakness, evil that is in our heart, for the re-establishment dharma of the righteousness, of the right path to show. I have to be incarnate myself by subjugating my own maya, my own power. Jesus did that. He didn't ascend to heaven right away from the tomb. He could have disappeared and gone to heaven. But he came among his disciples, among his followers. 500 people saw him, Jesus resurrected, and he came to them and said, I am still alive. God doesn't die to prove that Jesus was not ordinary human being. Sri Krishna says, people don't understand that I am not ordinary human being. People feel that ordinary human being don't understand. But those, my devotees, people who follow me, people who want to trade from darkness to light, they understand me, that to show them the path that Jesus resurrected, and he came to them and he lived for many days after that. That is the story of Jesus. How Jesus' life is so inspiring. Lived only for about 33 years. They say from now, a modern calculation of his birth, they say he was born in 4 BC, not on 1 BC. In the day, as we say, it's Christian era. It should have started from the birthday of Jesus, but now calculation says he was born on 4 BC, and at 33 years of age, he was crucified, 29 BC. And 29 AD, sorry. AD 29, he was crucified. And how much he did tapasya? He did tapasya for 12 long years. His whole life was centered in God, no doubt, but 12 years were his rigorous tapasya. That was his life when he lost. When he was doing that tapasya, how many times the devil came in the form of a Maya, you can say Mara, according to Buddhists, and he said, why do you have to preach all these truths of blessedness to the human beings? Don't do that. Make bread for he came, the Mara, the devil came in the form of his mother. He took the form of the mother and came and said, can you make bread out of this stone? Jesus could make it. He denied. He understood who was there, whom he was facing, and he was much more greater than devil. He could conquer all his samskaras. He could rise above the Mara. That Buddha did. Buddha also, so many temptations, Buddha said, don't try to attain the truth. It is not attainable. Don't just get up. You have to survive. You will die. Buddha said, no, I will sit on this chair and not rise before I know the truth, which I have been seeking for my life after life, till may this flesh become all dissolved, bone become pulverized, but I will not get up from the seat. With that resolve, he said, and Mara started sending temptations. Mara started sending him fear. Buddha was not tempted. Buddha could conquer all fear. And then when next morning he rose from that seat, it was not Siddhartha Gautama, it was Buddha Gautama, the Buddha, the God, the person who had come enlightened and come to the world. After that also this devil, as Mara was saying, Buddha, congratulations, you could realize the truth that this body, this life, the main thing of life is that bliss of nirvana is attainable, achievable, experienceable. That is true, but don't try to say this to anyone. It is, nobody will understand your thing. Nobody will be ready to practice when you say that life is immortal, nirvana is the place when you understand your true nature. Otherwise everything is just changing and seeming. It is never truth. Don't go to preach this thing to common human beings. They will not understand. They will call you fool. They will call you madcap. That ultimate temptation, Buddha said, no, I will go and spread this message of beatitude, message of blessedness, attainment of nirvana, how to conquer all our suffering in life. There is a way to conquer the suffering of life. I will preach this to everyone who comes. Everyone I will make happy and pure and cheerful in this life and fearless in this life. That I will try to do. Buddha didn't listen to Mara. He conquered all fear, all temptations, and rose to that state, became Buddha, the teacher of mankind. Similar was Jesus the Christ. He conquered all this message of devil and conquered all his suggestions and rose to that and started coming to his own people, came back and started his ministration. Gave the prayers and to love God, he said, and be forgiving to the people. People do mistakes. If you don't harbor any hatred in your heart for the people, be forgiving to all, that way you feel joy of life. Life is full of joy. Only we have to harness that joy. That's what Jesus said. Jesus' active ministration is very short. That's a Buddha lived for 40 years and he preached the path of nirvana, path of blessedness, path of Ashtanga Marga. And how much time this Jesus lived? Jesus lived only 1.5 years to preach. When he started preaching and giving his unique message, and he spoke as they said as authority, not as someone who has read the scriptures and he's just relating that, oh, it is said in the scriptures. No, he spoke as the authority. What will give the pure blessedness in this life, how one could conquer death, all when he was saying that, he said as the authority. And he said that old religion said that, I say unto you, the old religion said, eye for an eye. I say, no revenge. We are forgiving to all. That is what Jesus wanted to teach people, humility, compassion, and pure love for human beings, because human beings are children of God, your own brethren, your own brothers and sisters. Why do you hate them? Why do you compete with them? Why you compare with them? You serve them, you help them. That was Jesus' message of blessedness to all. He said, be humble, eschew all your arrogance and pride. Humility will take you to the ultimate goodness. Be humble. That was his message. Be pure. And he said, have thirst and hunger for righteousness. What is this righteousness? Righteousness is for the love of God, for spiritual growth. We have thirst and hunger. When we are thirsty and hungry, how we feel for food and water. When will I get it? I can rush there. I can I have to go to the place where you can get it because I am very hungry. I need it this moment. Have the same and still more intense hunger and thirst for God, because God is the real contentment. God is real joy. That is the message of Jesus when he said, we have thirst and hunger for righteousness. That's what Jesus wants to say. And he said, if someone slaps on your cheek, give other cheek to him. Have no revenge or hatred or anything. Don't retaliate. That's what he says, compassionate. When we can do that, when we can give other cheek, when you find other person who has slapped on your cheek is your own person, like your own very dear person. You have no grudge against that person. Unless and until we love other like that, there's no point in giving other cheek to that person that slapped me. We have to first develop that love, loving other more than we love ourselves. Only then turning other cheek to that person will have meaning. Before that, no. First, develop love for all. As you love yourself, Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. And how that love for our neighbor, who is that neighbor? Not only the person who lives just beside our house. Neighbor is the people of whole world. Whole humanity is our neighbor. Love all as your own self. How can that love be there? How can we love everyone? How can we be free from all hatred? How we can be free from all enmity? He said, love God. Love God. How to love God? Love God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul and all your might. When you do that, love God with wholeheartedly, with fully, give 100% of your love to God, then will your love be directed to all human beings. That God whom you love as an idea of God, as Rama or Krishna or Jesus, as Father in heaven or Allah, that God is manifested in His creation as these human beings, as the living beings, as this world of stars and planets and sun and moon, as this earth of water and trees and squirrels and deer and our fellow human beings. All this is God manifested. That love for human being can come only when we can love God with all might. And Jesus said, be pure in heart, and then you can see God. What is that purity of heart that Jesus taught in His 1.5 year of ministration? That purity is when we can focus our mind to the place where we want. Mind is not contaminated with other desires. It is so free from the desires, free from the weaknesses, free from our all samskaras, that we can focus in mind wherever we want. I want to meditate on God, then I can meditate on God. I can think of God as long as I will. That pure mind, pure heart can do that. When I find I sit to meditate, and after 30 seconds, after 1 minute, my mind unknowingly, without my even known knowledge, it diverts and starts thinking of other things, then know that your heart is not yet pure. Make your mind pure. That pure mind will be easily under your control. And whatever you say to it, it will be there. Be in God. You say to mind. Mind follows you and it starts being in God. Be in the thing that I am doing. You work that thing with 100% mind. Be in the prayer for other person who are sick, who need our prayer, who need our help. Mind 100% follows what you say. That is a sign of pure heart. When heart is purified, then God revelation is not far. Then God is seen in our idea within our heart. God is seen, revealed everywhere in front of us. That is the message of Easter Sunday, that love your God with all your heart and soul and mind and might, and direct that love to God, and you will find you have started loving not only God, but God's creation, God's manifestation. You start loving this world. Everything of this world is started loving. Like Brother Lawrence, who started his life by loving God. And then he finds that his every act is for Jesus. His washing plates, his cooking in the kitchen, all is for love of Christ. All his life was centered in love of God, love of Christ. Then he says, I cut the grass not for anything else, but for the love of Christ. I walk, it is also for the love of my beloved, who is God. I pick a straw. That is also for the love of my God. God consumes the person's life while living, while working, while sleeping, while dreaming. It is all God. Then the person becomes like Sri Ramakrishna, who finds nothing inside him but Mother Kali. Really, I say, I find no my ego inside. It is all Mother. And what he sees outside, he all sees Mother only, and says, I see Mother as if the pillow is covered with the pillowcase. Human form is different, but inside pulsating the living real person is all Divine Mother. That all is the message of Easter. God has risen, God has come, God is immortal, and so are you. I am Atma Brahma. This Atma, this self, is the Brahman. You are that infinite reality. Reality is indestructible, it is immortal, it is infinite. So art thou, that thou art, Tat Tvam Asi. That is the message of Easter, that I have resurrected, I do not die. And that's how you are also, you also do not die. The death, seeming death, is for just its body is dying, the real person is immortal. That's what Jesus used to say. Why God comes to this world again and again? When he says, whenever dharma is declined and adharma rises up, I manifest myself, subjugating my own maya. Why does God come? Because of His grace and in the cause of truth. That's why the God comes again and again in many places, and in different forms the God manifests itself according to the need of the world. Christ said, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. And again, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I shall give you rest. That is the promise. Come to God, walk towards light. Ignorance will remain far behind. Darkness will be gone away from you. But you have to walk towards light. There is real rest. All we are tired, worrisome, fearful. Come to God. There is eternal life. We will realize that God is there to make me understand that life is eternal. Life is immortal. So to understand that, then we conquer the fear of death. At this present time, as they say, what the Divine Mother said, that is said in the Durga Saptasati, 700 verses of glory to Divine Mother. In Chandi it is said, Rogana Sesan Apahang Situstar Rustatu Kaman Sakalan Avistar. Oh Mother, if we worship you, all diseases, all will go away. You will protect us from all disease and death and suffering. But we have to come to you. Come to me. I am the light of the world. And it says, come unto me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I shall give you rest. That is the promise of God when He came as Jesus. And that is the promise of God in different languages. Whenever He reincarnates Himself, or in this world, in the human form, as a male person or the Divine Mother. That is the promise. Come unto me. If you want peace, if you want rest, come unto me. You will get all that. Sri Krishna said, that's why in the Gita, beautiful spiritual book to be followed, be absorbed in me, lodge your mind in me, thus you shall dwell in me. Do not doubt it here and hereafter. Mayeva mana adhatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyachi mayeva ata urdhvam na samsaya. Do not doubt. You just come unto me and think of me, think always of me, and you will come to that blessedness. That eternal Christ is not to be found in churches, nor in temples, not in books, nor in scriptures, but within your own heart. Find Him there. The Christ who resurrected on Easter Sunday, it is to be found within the heart of every human being. that blessed being, that fearless being, that always cheerful being, always thinking about the good of others, that being, that love is in the heart. The Christ is not separate from us. The Christ, you may worship in any form, in the love as the Son of God as Christ, as Ramakrishna, as Gauranga, as Mother Kali. He is one appearing in many forms. Eko aham bahusyama. Bahusyama in the form of all this creation. Bahusyama in the form of all incarnations of God. How compassionate the Lord is that He says that I do not die. I am ever present there. That is the message of the Easter. That God is ever present, ever living. Nothing can kill. The cross cannot kill. Nothing can kill. That's what the Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka. The weapons cannot cut it, and the fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, and air cannot dry it. That is the true nature of the reality. And that reality, that word, that God, that word has become flesh. That reality, infinite, pure consciousness becomes embodied, takes the form of human being and comes in front of us. What for? Out of compassion for us, to show us light, that then we travel, we move from darkness to light, from death to immortality. That is the message of the Spirit. Swami Vivekananda said about the Christ. Who is the Christ? Christ had no other occupation in life, no other thought except that one, that He was a spirit. He was a disembodied, unfettered, unbound spirit. And not only so, but He, with His marvelous vision, had found that every man and woman, whether Jew or Gentile, whether rich or poor, whether saint or sinner, was the embodiment of the same undying Spirit as Himself. Therefore, the one work which His whole life showed was to call upon them to realize their own spiritual nature. Give up, He says, these superstitious dreams that you are low and that you are poor. Think not that you are trampled upon and tyrannized over as if you were slaves, for within you is something that can never be tyrannized over, never be trampled upon, never be troubled, never be killed. You are all sons of God, immortal Spirit. No, He declared, the kingdom of heaven is within you. I and my Father are one. Dare you stand up and say, not only that, I am the Son of God, but I shall also find in my heart of hearts that I and my Father are one. That was what Jesus of Nazareth said. He never talks of this world and this life. He has nothing to do with it, except that He wants to get hold of the world as it is, give it a push and drive it forward and onward until the whole world has reached to the effulgent light of God, until everyone has realized his spiritual nature, until death is vanished and misery banished. That's where the golden words of Swami Vivekananda about the great life of Jesus. 33 years of great life of ministry of God. And in his active ministry, only 1.5 years. Swami Vivekananda's life, active ministry, you can say 10 years. From 30 years to 40 years. All that he has given in these 10 years, which will, the message for the West, as he said, when he came here to the West, but Swami Vivekananda's message, which is the message of eternal God, came through Sri Ramakrishna, came through Jesus, came through Upanishads, And the Gita, that message that Swami Vivekananda gave in the modern world, the same old message in the modern world, with this greatest power to drive us towards goodness, that was given in a hard work of 10 years. His sadhana of whole life, but hard work of ministration in 10 years. In Jesus' life is only 1.5 years. What is the impact of his message, of his ministration of life? As if everything seemed to have finished. His direct disciples were all tortured and killed, but his message remained in the heart of everyone. Nothing could crush the message of Jesus. How powerful was the life of Jesus. So even death cannot do anything to this great spiritual person. They come with a purpose, they come with the authority, because they are sent by God to preach and give the message to the world, to take the people from darkness and ignorance to light and knowledge. Christ lived, he died, he rose to life, he entered the hearts of millions and guided their life journey from darkness to light. On this day of Happy Easter, we pray that the joy of God be with all of us. We remain cheerful, even in the moment, in the days of difficult times. We can be cheerful. Being cheerful in difficult times, we can tackle the problems more easily and with more thoughtfulness. If we are afraid, then we'll do mistake. If we are cheerful, we'll find the ways to tackle the difficult times more easily, more comfortably, and with greater thought. Let us follow the rules that have been set to protect us from contamination. Live a life as long as we have our prarabdha, or as long as God has given us and given us the purpose of life. And when death comes, let us embrace with smile and go to our beloved. Death is nothing. It is the movement from this world of desires and bondage to the world of freedom, to the beloved whom we call God. And that is the message of Jesus. Love God, be with Him after you die, but more than that, be with God when you are in this world. The God, association with God, thinking of God, practice of the presence of God in your heart will remove all your fear, will remove all your fear of death. You would have attained immortality even before you die. That will be the Jivan Mukta. You will be a liberated soul. Even in this mortal world, you live as an immortal person, because you realize that you are truly, your true nature, your true self is immortal. This immortality, this cheerfulness, this conquering the fear of death is the message of the Easter. That is the real resurrection of the incarnation of God, of our Ishta in our heart. Thank you very much. I close with the prayer. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Mahamai Ki Jai. Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Jai Mahamai Ki Jai. Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Buddha Ki Jai. Jai Isha Musha Ki Jai. Sarvastaratu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarvasad Buddhimapnotu Sarvas Sarvatra Nandatu. Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.